are these people?
This story surprisingly went under the radar. I did not know about this until I saw this and you showed me this from Twitter earlier in the week. But this has been a story that was talked about since last summer, or at least it was reported upon since last summer. So there's another cop city that is growing. Yep, Sean knows it. Yep, in Baltimore that no one's been really talking about, but we wanted to kind of bring out the story, especially in light of the Democrats saying, or at least some Democrat pundits now saying, oh, we have to vote for Biden because he's done some stuff. Well, considering I'm talking about the Sam Cedars and the Mike Figueredos and the David Pakmans of the world with that viral, I think shout out to, I think it was Compton J who made that clip. The kind went viral early in the week. But this is an issue that they don't care about regarding the needs of Black people not being met. And yeah, this is a story that really went under the radar even by us. So we are going to report on that. So our first story for tonight deals with Baltimore, up the street from me. So we're going to talk about, we all know about the famous or infamous now Cop City in Atlanta, but most of us do not know, and I feel this might have been underreported in independent media, that there's another Cop City in Baltimore that is in proposal of being built right now. So before I do that, I do want to play a clip. I believe this is from Fox News locally in Baltimore that talks about the cop issue, and the media is kind of spinning it in a way that suggests that there needs to be more cops, which will kind of bring into light more into this situation. So let's play that. And then
Baltimore police are down more officers after 4 more resigned last week. The Fraternal Order of Police say pay and working conditions are driving officers out. Fox 45's Vincent Hill is live at police headquarters looking into how the officer shortages affects residents. Vincent?
Yeah, Kai, according to the FOP, the department doesn't have enough officers to effectively police the city. So I took that idea to the streets of the Western District to hear from residents about their concerns.
Several minutes of walking the 1700 block of Lexington Avenue and no signs of a Baltimore police car.
It depends. If something happens, yeah. If they get a call, as people standing on the corner, they might come show up, but they're not around here 24/7 like they used to be.
This resident says he's seen a decline in police presence over the last few years, and the numbers support that. According to Baltimore police, the department is currently down 455 sworn officers. That equals out to about 50 officers per district.
They cut back some. They're not as aggressive as they used to be, like back in like from 10 to like 15. When I used to really be outside, it was havoc.
A few miles away on North Calhoun Street, more of the same.
I don't carry a pocketbook because I don't want them to look like I got something. So I put all my information in my pocket and a wallet so I won't get robbed, you know.
She recalls beat cops being in her neighborhood.
You know, there's a lot of stuff going on around here. So I expect to see them, you know, like get out the car and walk around.
Jason Johnson is the former Baltimore Police Deputy Commissioner. He says a lack of police is a risk for those waiting for help.
The way that your average citizen is going to feel it the most is when they call for something that is objectively not an emergency, but for which they would like to have a police officer respond. It could be many, many hours before they see a police officer, if not longer.
Johnson says the problem to retain or recruit in BPD has been ongoing.
I think there were only 2 years in the last 20 years that the year has ended with more police officers than it started with.
Johnson attributes that to one thing.
What most drives people out of law enforcement, especially out of the BPD, is the lack of support that they get from the political class. And that's it. That's the end of it.
And BPD tells me so far this month alone, the Western District has responded to over 5,800 calls. Now, we are working to find out what those calls were. and what the wait time was, meaning how long it took for police to respond. For now, we're live at BPD headquarters. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
I mean,
Well, it's funny that they're saying that, oh, we don't get the support from, the political class. Well, it seems that they are. So if we go to the slide,
Yep.
oh, hold on. Beats me. Then actually, let me get this screen. So this was the tweet that both Reef and I saw. This is from Monica at Black Panther Babe, where she tweets, they are planning another cop city in a predominantly Black neighborhood. Funny how that keeps happening. So you notice the date of that, right? That was in August.
2023. Yep.
Yeah. So this was in August that this was reported on. So like I said, this went way under the radar. I mean, obviously, the cop city in Atlanta got a lot of media attention, but not so much this.
Look at this.
So we are going.
Look at this
Go ahead.
fucking facility. Well, holy shit.
Well,
They got it
again,
color coded for the cops because they're too dumb to understand floors and names. They need to go to the
Right.
red building.
Well, again, this is proposed.
Yeah.
So this is not in the books yet. So, but we are going to read this article. This comes from, if you zoom out, Reef, thank you, from the Baltimore Banner. This was written by Justin Fenton and then Conarck. Okay. Where they say, proposed Baltimore police and fire training facility has hefty price tag, $330 million. So they continue. A proposal for a new joint training facility for Baltimore's police and fire departments on the Copenn State University campus has come back with a whopping price tag of $330 million. A preliminary design report was posted to the Maryland State Authority website August 17th, and it outlines two possible sites on the campus of the historically Black university in West Baltimore that would offer class and training space for the city's two public safety agencies. The Copenn project, pushed for nearly a decade and more formally explored starting in 2021, received renewed attention this week when a top police department official described it as a tactical village, drawing comparisons to the so-called Cop City project in Atlanta that has been the subject of protests. But the controversial Atlanta project costs $90 million, a fraction of the proposed plan for the Baltimore facility. About $30 million of the Atlanta facility came from taxpayer funds, with the rest cobbled together from private donations. So Rhonda Ellsworth says, of course, they're going to put it in Copeland State University campus, one of the free HBCUs in Maryland. Yes.
Yep. Couldn't be any more
ironic.
apparent. Yeah, and they'll recruit Black and brown people too on top of that to join and beat up their brother and sister. So
well, keep in mind, and people in the chat already said this, that Baltimore has a young black governor.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're putting a black face mayor, they are putting a black face, black governor too. So, so they are putting black faces to this project, to almost kind of justify this. So, so yeah, just as bad, if not worse than Atlanta, with a larger price tag. Well, which doesn't make sense considering that Baltimore is a lot smaller in size relatively than Atlanta is. But
yeah.
Anyway, the mayor's office told the Baltimore Banner the proposals remains in a very conceptual phase, with initial feasibility studies just beginning to be assessed. The city is confronted with a number of serious challenges with its training facilities for both the police and fire departments, and as it is required by the consent decree, we are continuing to look at innovative ways to address them and upgrade facilities, the office said in a statement. Mayor Scott has always prioritized providing adequate facilities for all city employees, and these proposals are part of that work.
Yeah, whatever you say, Haas.
City Council President Nick Mosby has championed the project for nearly a decade. In a phone call Friday afternoon, Mosby reiterated his support for a police training facility in West Baltimore, but declined to comment on the costs outlined by the Maryland Stadium Authority because he said he wasn't familiar with the report. Only $450,000 for the study has been expended thus far for the Copan project. The design report addresses possible funding sources, including the suggestion of a possible sunsetting public safety income tax on residents. It also cites the Atlanta project as a case study in courting public support. The cost of this facility is a significant investment. However, the cost of doing nothing is essentially more, the report from architects Mans Woodard Studios concludes. Gary McGeehan, an executive vice president with the Maryland Stadium Authority, said it was asked by Baltimore Brandon M. Scott to secure the project study and that it was up to the city to figure out next steps. We put appropriate contingencies and escalation into these numbers, and yeah, it is a big number, but it's a big building, McGeehan said. At Thursday's quarterly meeting on the Baltimore Police Consent Decree, Deputy Commissioner Eric Malacone said officials are trying to determine funding sources. He described the project as a tactical village, which drew ire online. Atlanta's plans drew national attention and local protests, with activists saying the plans would further militarize police. Demonstrators occupied a campground on the site, and a protester was shot and killed by police as they moved in to make arrests. Other concerns include the destruction of forests to make way for the facility. Baltimore and Maryland leaders have seen the controversy around Atlanta's Stop Cop City and decided we need one too, at the expense of investing in prevention and root causes of violence. Nick Wilson, a former city public safety official now with the Center for American Progress, wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter. Can I say an aside here?
Sure.
You remember that conference I went to in Atlanta back last month regarding child tax credit? There were people there who were representative of Center for American Progress, and they mentioned, well, in regards to, I remember that those representatives giving like the famous talking points that, under the child tax credit, poverty was cut in half, which we know is misleading because those numbers were, one, based on the idea of giving people a minimum $15 minimum wage, which hasn't happened, but also it's more contingent upon outdated poverty
Numbers.
guidelines and numbers, which we've reported several times have been used since the 1950s, 1960s. So just using a lot of outdated information to make the justification for doing certain things. So you're kind of seeing it here again, making the justification of, there's high crime, so we need to build a big facility in order to train police as a way probably to recruit police to justify this project.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the same guy, Nick Mosby, also pandered to Trayvon Martin stuff, trying to kill Florida businesses, right? He's done stuff to try to deal with like crime and violence, quote unquote, urban farm projects to try to keep, it's like classic politician pandering,
Right.
But yeah, meanwhile, he's going to give the cops far more funding for this. So, but, and then meanwhile, not actually addressing any of the reasons for crime.
Right.
So,
poverty.
Right.
Which Baltimore especially is.
Yeah,
bad.
It is.
So
I even know that. I'm not even near there, and I know that. So, like,
anyway,
fucking Baltimore hard, like, so yeah, but
anyway, Discussion of the Copen's facility dates to at least 2015, when Mosby, at the time a councilman representing West Baltimore, expressed a desire to see such a facility and sponsored a resolution calling for a feasibility study that passed easily through the council. Mosby said that a state-of-the-art academy in West Baltimore that leverages Copen's current criminal justice school is a win-win situation. So again, justifying
Yeah.
HBCU, they have a criminal justice program. Hey,
Right.
they need a new facility.
That'll help us
So
rich folk out. Don't worry about it. You know? Okay.
then Senate President Mike Miller and then Mayor Catherine Pugh also threw their support behind it in 2018. We're working with Copen State University because I'm going to double train police officers, Pugh said while speaking at a community event. I've got to have another training facility. U.S. District Judge James K. Bredar, who's overseeing the police consent decree reforms, also said in 2019 that building a new police training facility should be top priority of city leaders and that the state should pitch in. The police department training facility was located at a former school building just north of Pimlico Racecourse. In 2019, amid discussion about moving this facility to Chopin, the city announced plans to relocate the academy to the University of Baltimore at a cost of $6.8 million over 5 years, in addition to what the Baltimore Sun described at the time as hundreds of thousands of dollars for parking and other fees associated with the move.
Okay.
Elected leaders, including Antonio Hayes, said that at the time that they feared the University of Baltimore arrangement could come at the expense of the Copen project, which he supported. It's troubling to me and it's troubling to this community, he said. In May 2021, the Maryland State Stadium Authority's Board of Directors approved a memorandum of understanding to conduct a preliminary design of a new proposed public safety building at Copan State University. Copan State fully funded the design at a cost of $450,000 through a state grant. The state stadium authority says the General Assembly has identified the new proposed public safety building as a priority project. Manus Woodard Studios won the contract to conduct the study in April 2022. Their plan includes an indoor firing range and a practical training village that combines the typical street widths found in Baltimore, Alley Street Avenue, with the building typologies that the first responders would typically experience in Baltimore, such as two-way row homes, liquor stores, garden apartments, and a convenience store.
Liquor store, gun store, convenience store, liquor store. What they want to train them in, Collin? What parts of Baltimore that be?
Right.
Right. Like, and they're like, well, the fire people no, that's not for them. Like, that's for the other folks you're trying to help out. Okay. As I was saying,
These buildings are modeled after real-world scenarios, enabling fire and police recruits to train independently and together. The design plan says, just say what it is. You want them to be more adjusted to Black neighborhoods. That's what you really said.
Yep.
Also included is a community plaza where local residents and city personnel can experience purposeful, positive interactions with first responders and alter preconceived perceptions. Right. One of the significant challenges associated with this project will be to design an accessibility fortress.
An accessible fortress.
That engages the community and keeps public safety personnel safe.
Accessible fortress is the fucking biggest oxymoron I have ever heard. That is like two opposite words right next to each other. Accessible and fortress, which is like what? Okay.
Well, I mean, God forbid that something happens.
Right, someone breaks into this facility.
Right. And we need to keep our lackeys safe.
Well, and our guns and our equipment and the $330 million that we put into this facility. our new coffee machines and margarita makers in the lunchroom. Like, yeah, that's bad. So, BAP.
Yep. Shout out to Black Alliance for Peace, who weren't having this at all. We should try and get Annie Chambers on.
Sure. I'm down for
maybe
that.
she can talk about this if she knows about this. I'm sure she does.
Yeah.
So they wrote a statement. I believe, if I remember correctly, they wrote it definitely in the latter half of last year. So their response: the Black Alliance for Peace Baltimore Citywide Alliance strongly opposes the proposal for a new $330 million joint facility for Baltimore's police and fire departments on West Baltimore's Chopin State University campus. The contradictions of historically Black colleges and universities fostering growing relationships with the state are sharpened with this proposal on a campus with access to the Department of Defense. 1033 program budgets, which transfer military equipment to civilian law enforcement agencies. Any potential existence of a joint training facility for a police department currently under a consent decree that names violations of civil liberties not only serves to create and sustain tensions negatively impacted the overall campus climate, but the surrounding predominantly Black working class communities of West Baltimore.
Here, I can
can you zoom in, please?
Yes,
Thank you. Baltimore's 1033 program budget is not exclusive to the HBCU's campuses of Chopin State University and Morgan State University, allowing them access to weapons such as rifles, Glocks, and riot-style 12-gauge shotguns.
Yep.
Over the last decade, the Baltimore Police Department has received roughly $500 million in military-grade weapons and vehicles.
Yeah.
Sorry, 500,000
in military grade. Yeah.
Why?
Just because they need it, supposedly. You know.
Why?
Like, I mean, Baltimore gangs are a real army, Collin. Didn't you know? That's probably, you know what it is. Hamas is probably there. That's what it is.
Oh, speaking of Hamas,
yeah.
Alongside access to the 1033 program, the city engages in the Deadly Exchange Program, a massive exchange between the U.S. and Israel police and Israel military, where hyper-militarized policing techniques and technology are shared.
They teach you how to beat brown folk. They're good at that.
Right. So again, to all the Black people who say we shouldn't give a damn about what's happening in Israel, well, when, if ever, the cops decide to pull you over and beat your ass up to a pulp, you can thank Israel for that.
That's fucking.
So
I was making a joke, but I didn't realize it'd be that soon we'd deal with them. But
right.
You know, okay. Oh,
God. There is also Operation Relentless Pursuit, making Baltimore one of 7 cities, including Detroit, Albuquerque, Cleveland, Kansas City, Memphis, and Milwaukee, selected for the Trump administration's surge of federal, state, and local resources. More recently, the Johns Hopkins Police Department, a private police force, has been approved to work alongside the Baltimore City Police with no community oversight, supported by the stakeholders of Johns Hopkins and not the people of Baltimore, nor students or workers on campus. All of this in addition to half of Baltimore's indiscretionary, as opposed to reoccurring, annual budget being routinely allocated to police.
A private police force.
Well, you know what? It's more common than you think.
No, I know. It's just very RoboCop-esque. Like this.
Yeah, it's very like I know. Shout out. Right, but shout out to whatever you want to call it. But like my alma mater, Boston College, many of the cops there were trained by Boston police.
Yeah.
So yeah, even though it's like a private college, many of the cops there were trained by Boston trained.
Yeah, I mean it's just the fact that they're going to use private Johns Hopkins police, right?
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
altogether, the city, state, and federal funds allocated to police amount to no more than $900 billion.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Similar to the push for Cop City in Atlanta, this proposed training facility is being championed by the Black misleadership class of Baltimore City. Although the status of who controls the Baltimore City Police Department remains in limbo, this project is backed by Mayor Brandon M. Scott and is spearheaded by Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby, who has a cloud of controversy around him. As a Baltimore Banner posts, Mosby has championed the project for nearly a decade. Furthermore, Mosby's time as a city council president has had its fair share of issues, from 2 ethics violations concerning the mishandling of funds to referring to the veto of the security deposits bill as modern day redlining, despite how it would have positively impacted working class Black communities. Yet, Mosley has made this training facility his legacy project. The issue in Baltimore City is not a lack of police training, but instead consistent over-policing that hones in on the colonial status of Africans and other oppressed peoples occupied in their own communities, said BAP Baltimore Citywide Alliance member Erica Keynes. What was once a fixation on a war on drugs is now being slated as a war on crime to ensure the constant approval of budgets for more policing to heal the wounds of the past, while ignoring the ongoing plight of the poor, working class residents of the city that includes a lack of sufficient health care, education, housing, and any semblance of people-centered human rights. According to Rafiki Mars, a former community organizer of people with opioid use disorders, there are 60,000 people currently living in addiction or recovery in Baltimore City. Given the criminalization of addiction and the militarization of police, the citizens are constantly harassed, incarcerated, and threatened with incarceration by overzealous police who use them as confidential informants, thus turning a significant proportion of the population against their communities. These people are also effectively served as the eyes and ears of the police, since any minor contacts with police or any association with other felons can violate the conditions of parole or probation, thus landing them back in jail. For all intents and purposes, Baltimore is an internal U.S. colony kept in check by an occupying armed force called the police.
Yep.
In Baltimore, 20.3% of the population live on or under the poverty line, which is 131.5% above the state's poverty line. Rather than developing sustainable programs to address the endless cycle of poverty, Baltimore proposes to spend an obscene amount of money on a police training facility center that includes classrooms, administration buildings, a firing range, indoor and outdoor fitness, a community plaza, and a tactical training village. The training village combines street whiffs commonly seen in Baltimore City with building typology. This village models real-life scenarios to assist training in maneuvering through Baltimore neighborhoods. The implications of developing expertise in urban warfare without dutifully returning justice and power to the hands of communities only entail the success advancement of oppression. Oh, can you zoom in?
Yep.
Thank you. Proponents of a cop city in Baltimore must recognize the relationship intentionally stewarded between the police and city residents. The proposal is not only profoundly offensive, but erases the steep historical context of the corruption and injustice African/Black poor working class communities have been subject to, with vocal opposition donning the existence of the police state. The absurdity of such notions is perpetuated when analyzing the suggestions of the Community Oversight Task Force responsible for guiding the morality of the Baltimore Police Department through its consent decree obligations. Holding this truth, it becomes clear that there is no intention of the state and its Black misleadership class to dismantle and repair the fundamental power imbalances between law enforcement and citizens, making this corruption possible. There is no monetary incentive here, and ethical burden is too high. This is the message being confirmed by Cop City proposal. Our college campuses, the only places in the city where our youth can access higher education, are not grounds for grossly underdeveloped, atomistic, violent passion projects of the neo-colonialized state. With this, there is no respect for our youth's future, nor our institution's legacy and potential. We are called to protect what is supposed to be ours. The existence of a training facility in a predominantly African/Black poor working class community will only be used to enforce further the status quo of white power and colonial control over the lives of Africans and other oppressed nations of people. The solution to the issues that plague Baltimore City is not more police training, but people-centered human rights ensuring the needs of Baltimore City residents are met. No cop city in Baltimore. Defeat the war of Africans here and abroad.
Does
Yeah.
Marilyn Mosby ring a bell to you? That name? That's this guy's wife.
Okay.
There was controversy around her, if I'm not mistaken. But can't remember what it was. Because I recognize the name.
Right. But you notice, you notice that BAP mentioned 7 cities,
Yes.
you know, as potential sites.
All of those cities like have large Black communities, right?
Right.
You know, and
So
none of them
Indy
like
said
know. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah. So Indy said they also strategically pick cities that have big Black communities. So yeah, like point being, but not New York, Chicago, LA, Seattle, Dallas. Yeah.
It was like embezzlement for a vacation home or something. Yeah, Marilyn, the Mosby. You know. So
Okay. Right. But yeah, so like I think this is important because again, you know, a majority report isn't going to report on this shit. Humans report is not going to report on this shit. David Pacman is not going to support on this shit. You know, and like Gaza, Israel aside, Black people have their own issues of why they're done with the Democratic Party, and especially given, you know, what's happening on the state level in the name of the Democratic Party. You know, these are issues that are not necessarily being discussed. And again, coming off of 2020, where, you know, after George Floyd, we need to protect Black people from the police. You know, Biden basically said, fuck that. I'm not doing anything regarding Black police protections. And now, you know, we're seeing what's happening in Atlanta. You're seeing this proposal that is being made in Baltimore. And now there are potentially, you know, at least the idea that there may be more cop cities popping up in predominantly Black neighborhoods in a lot of these cities that people are not necessarily talking about in the guise of, we need to protect our city from the crime wave that is happening in, I'll argue, pretty much every city right now. But again, you're not dealing with the poverty issue. You're just dealing with the crime and which is going to affect Black communities in particular. Yeah. So, I mean, and I really don't need to say anymore because I feel like we speak about this every week, but these are the issues that Black people have mentioned that are being ignored. So, you know, so at the end of the day, fuck all these larger channels who feel like, we have to be in lockstep with the Democratic Party and vote for Biden in this upcoming election, when these are issues that are happening on the local level. And again, this is happening under mostly Democratic elected people who are perpetuating this, which is going to affect Black communities. So, fuck that! Yeah. I couldn't say it better myself.
Don't forget, like and subscribe. Throw a comment down there. Let us know what you think. I know this was underreported, so share this. Make sure people see it. You know, we're heavily suppressed, so every little bit helps. Also hit that sub button. Make that number go up. Get it to 2K. Easy peasy. You can make it.